Of you and Linda, who was the first to show an inclination towards music?
Me, Vika.
It was you?
It was me, yeah. I've been, ever since I could talk, I wanted to sing, so, and Mum and Dad knew that I'd be a singer, so Linda was more sort of into painting and things like that, and I sort of dragged her into it.
Can you remember a defining moment when you realised just how good you did sound together?
I can't really. The way we sort of practiced was we'd sing along to like TV theme shows and pick our harmonies, and Mum would, show us how to sing in harmony, and then I think when we sang in church was actually, I sort of thought, well, we're only little kids, but I thought this is great fun and we don't sound that bad. So I think it was in church when we were about 7.
Is there a secret or a key to successful harmony singing, do you think?
No, I think when you're related, it definitely helps. But, we get great teams that aren't related, and choirs and things that sing great in harmony, and, I think I don't really know, to be quite honest. Sometimes it works and sometimes it clashes.
Yeah.
But it usually works when you sing with your brother or your sister.
You're definitely right there. There is something unique in the sound when sisters or brothers sing together, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Was there formal vocal training at all for either of you?
Yeah, we both went and our mother taught us how to sing and would, teach us how to hold notes and when to cut off, and she's got a very powerful voice. And then when it sort of started getting a bit serious, we went and learnt breathing and sort of technique and how to use our diaphragm, but that wasn't for very long. That was only for a couple of years.
Now, an early band you were both involved with was the Honeymooners. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, that was a band that Henry Mars from he's a Melbourne lad. He was in the Bachelors from Prague.
Yep.
He put that together, and that was just sort of like a little band that... he didn't put that together at all. He named the band, that's right. He said, Linda and I put this band together, inexperienced. We had 11 people in the band. It was outrageous. Horn section, all that sort of stuff. And didn't have a name for the band. And Henry said, why don't you call the band the Honeymooners? And I've always hated that name. But he thought it was great. And, it didn't last very long, but it was sort of our starting point.
How did the call up to join the Black Sorrows come about?
They just... I think Joe had just recorded Hold On To Me.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought, I'm going to need a couple of backing singers to take on the road. And he was talking to his drummer, Peter Luscombe, and said, should I take experienced backing singers or should we take a couple of, green kind of young chicks? And Pete said, get a couple of green ones. And he said, actually, no, there's 2 singers, Vika and Linda in Melbourne, why don't you give them a go? So we went along and had an audition, and Joe said, come on the road for 6 weeks, and it lasted 7 years.
What were your expectations when you went in there? Were you looking at it as a learning experience?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we really wanted the gig because we really respected Joe as a musician and, knew his background and thought this would be a great thing for us to do for our singing, because Joe never sings the same thing twice. It's always different. So you've constantly got to be listening, which, singing, if you don't listen or use your ears, then you may as well forget it. And he really whipped us into shape when it came to sort of always constantly watching him. What's he going to do tonight type thing. So it was great training. And not only that, Joe kind of widened our kind of musical... he broadened our... Linda and I had come from high school. We were listening to, top 40 kind of stuff, and Joe introduced us to all these great kind of R&B, soul, gospel bands and things like that.
Coming out of it, what did you think you learned from Joe in terms of fronting a band, being a band leader? We
learned a lot of things from Joe. We learned a lot about business, how to perform to a crowd every night. You know, Joe would always give 110%. Didn't matter if there was 5 people in the room or 500. I remember when we first joined the Sorrows, it was before Chained to the Wheel had come out, and we were playing to rooms with 10 people in them. And Joe would always give a good show. And then when Chained to the Wheel went top 5, it just went through the roof, and all of a sudden we were playing huge rooms, and he gave them the same show to the 2,000 people that he gave to the 5 when we first started. So that was a great thing for me and Linda to see.
Did you know when the time was right to move on?
Pardon?
Did you know when the time was right to move on?
No, we didn't know when the time was right. In actual fact, I think we left too late.
Really?
Yeah. We should have left sooner. But, it was one of those things, we just sort of become like a family. It's like, leaving home.
Yeah. It must have felt like Christmas for your first album together, to have songwriters like Paul Kelly just hand you a batch of songs.
Yeah, that was pretty... that was one great thing about being in the Sorrows. We met a lot of other great, Australian musicians going on the road so much, occasionally bump into other bands, and so we got to meet Paul and, lots of people. And they were sort of really generous in giving us their songs and trusting us to, sing them properly. I don't think we've done a lot of songs justice when I look back.
How does the song selection process work for the two of you? Does it always have to be a complete agreement between you both, the choice of songs to record?
No. If Linda really likes something and I hate it and she really likes it, then it'll go on. It's and we always disagree. And but if she's sort of umming and ahhing and I'm like, no, then it doesn't go on.
Right.
So it's sort of give and take.
What about for yourself personally? What criteria do you use in selecting a song?
It's whether or not it catches my ear straight away. It's sort of like a good melody. Lyrics are very important too. I've sung a lot of schmaltzy kind of stuff in my time, and it doesn't kind of sit very well with me. So kind of lyrics are probably the melody first, then it's the lyric. What I have to sing, because I'm telling a story, so I don't want to, spurt out a whole stack of crapola.
Absolutely. You haven't exactly stood still musically on your albums. You've really mixed it up in a variety of ways and a variety of styles. That's important to you both?
Yeah, I think so. Sort of trying new things all the time. Everybody does. You sort of got to get, I think we've found our thing as singers. It's taken us 20 years, but I think I'm finally sort of getting that, we like gospel singing. I think we're kind of okay at it, and that's our thing, But I also like singing country songs because the harmonies, and Linda and I harmonise well together. So, you got to try everything, I reckon. The only thing I haven't tried is jazz.
Is that likely to happen?
No, never.
Not a jazz fan?
No, I love jazz. I just, it's too complicated for me.
Have you both become mums in recent years? Have you found mixing parenthood with your music careers?
It's been great. It's been great for the girls, I reckon.
Yeah?
Yeah, they love it. And they're very, free-spirited, and they come on tour, and, they love travelling, and it's kind of opened their eyes a bit, and they're only 7 and 6. So, especially this, they love music, which is lucky for us. So, but it hasn't really affected. We've got a great extended family, so they look after the girls when we need to rest.
I read another article recently where you mentioned you both feel your voices have changed a little bit since having children.
Yeah, they have.
In what way do you feel that?
Oh, well, they definitely change when you're pregnant. They get, because you're not smoking and drinking and doing all those rotten things.
Yeah.
So, you all of a sudden everything's working great. But I think it's, our voices have gotten a lot sort of richer, I reckon. Matured.
Let's talk about the latest release, a Gospel Live album. Is that something you've wanted to do for a while?
Yeah. Well, Two Wings, which Paul Kelly produced, that was a gospel album, but sort of not in your face kind of gospel album. We wanted to make an album that was just, well, there's no disputing that this is definitely a gospel album. And we wanted to do it live because, we wanted the feel of the room and the people. And, when you listen to a lot of gospel records, they're all recorded in church and they have that live kind of feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of would lose something in the studio, wouldn't it?
I think it would have, yeah.
So how big a part of your life growing up was gospel music?
Tongan gospel is what I listened to because I went to church every Sunday and had to listen to the choir. But it's Tongan singing is very different to, Black American gospel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more laid back, and they sing hymns. They sing them in Tongan, but they harmonise beautifully, And then they'd come around after church and bring their guitars, and they'd sit around and sing their songs. And so we had a lot of music when we were kids around us, live kind of music growing up.
Is there a certain element of risk or chance involved when recording a live album? A chance that you may not get the feel right on the night, or you might not have the right audience?
Yeah. But that's why we did it over 12 weeks.
Right.
Because we knew that if we'd only given ourselves 2 weeks to do it, it just wouldn't have worked. So we had to sort of do it over a period of time and then sort of pick the best takes from each week. And then, but as it turned out, we ended up getting the whole album in the last 2 weeks because everyone was used to playing the songs.
Yeah. That's 2 live albums for you now, including the acoustic one. Is the stage a far more comfortable recording location for you than the studio?
For me, it is.
Yeah?
Yeah, much prefer it. I hate the studio. Linda loves it. But every time I go into a studio and whack on those headphones, I get a headache. It's just too much stress. Because you're really under the microscope, you can hear every bum note and every breath, and it's like, oh, yuck, this is horrible. I much prefer singing live and getting that energy across. I think the way Linda and I sing, I don't think any studio album has ever captured our singing properly. And I think that the live thing is better for us.
You're about to go on tour with Casey Chambers. What's going to be the structure of your shows there?
We just do a half an hour, whatever she wants us to do, really. But, we'll probably sing gospel. We won't do our country set. We'll do our gospel set.
Uh-huh.
Leave the country to Casey.
Fair enough.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Should be great. Do you find in those support act situations you have to vary your set to accommodate the type of audience that may be there to see the main act?
Oh, no, I just do what I do.
Do what you do?
Yeah. I don't really enjoy being a support act, but I really want to do this one because she's a woman and because she's Australian. And I'd rather be a support act for an Australian artist than an overseas one.
Fair enough.
Sounds a bit weird, but, hey, I've, supported Sting and Joe Cocker and all those people and just had a miserable time.
Really?
Yeah, I never want to do it again.
Now, you mentioned jazz is out of the question, but is there any other style of album that you haven't done yet that you'd like to have a particular, that you have a particular yearning to want to have a go at?
Yeah, I'd like to do a full-on rock album.
Mm-hmm.
Like real kind of heavy kind of rock is what I'd like to do. I know Linda couldn't do it because she's not that type of singer.
Right.
But I don't know what Linda would do.
So you're perhaps looking at a solo thing there?
No, I don't need... No, well, I might do it. That's not to say that I won't. Though I never say never, Might do it just for fun, for my own keepsake. Why the hell not, even if I'm the only one that listens to it.
Good point. And just to wind up, Vika, what's on the books for you both after the Casey Chambers tour?
We're going to probably do another tour of our own, I think, with the band, and we've already sort of started thinking about the next album and what we're going to do there.
Excellent. How far have you got with that so far?
No, just in the thinking stages at the moment.
Right.
And, what direction to take. And we just don't know. We're sort of just sitting there, stare at each other blankly.
Right, so still in the thought stages.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, Vika, thanks a lot for your time. It's been great to catch up with you. Congratulations on the new album.
Thank you very much,
And
John.
we look forward to catching you on the road with Casey, and we'll look forward to that next studio album as well.
Okay.
Been a treat talking to you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, John.
Cheers.
Bye.